All right, welcome out to the deal room once again. Welcome to and grateful to have Devin Desonier from Axford Realty in Coquitlam with us once again. And yeah, we've got a few things to talk up and some pretty big things happening in our world. Devin, why don't I just start with you? I heard that something huge happened in the industry this last few days.
Well, actually, yeah, official news dropped this morning. It might have been last night, but yeah, it's kind of a big deal for real estate. Got it shaken up. A company called Real, Real. They're more of a new school brokerage. They started getting quite popular. I would say late 2024, when I really started seeing them on the map and seeing that some agents have been transferring over. They just acquired Remax, the full Remax on a huge deal. The full details aren't coming out, but the headliners, it was about an $880 million purchase. And that in that deal, Remax had, I believe it was around $500 million worth of debt that they had to pay off. So, anyways, the full details will come out. The deal does not close until the later this year, but the headlines have, made their way onto the news segment here. So it's absolutely huge because Remax is the number two brokerage, especially here in Canada. A very, very big brokerage. Everyone hears of them. They're the little hot air balloon, if you haven't, with the blue and red trademark logo that you've probably seen. So it's almost like the new school taking over the old school, because actually I used to work at Remax a number of years ago. I have nothing bad to say to them, but they're definitely, like, you'll see a lot more old school agents. It's not very really, I guess the word would be AI technology, or remote working. Think of your like 9 to 5 at a desk, and kind of everyone kind of keeps to themselves. Where Real is kind of the opposite. It's more work from home. It's cloud. It's talking virtually like we are here now. They have different commission splits, and there's kind of like not a pyramid, but definitely a way of making recurring money from acquiring more agents, yada yada. So, anyways, it was really big to see. When the final details come out, we'll definitely have to talk about it because it's probably the biggest deal that we've seen in the last 10, 15 years in real estate wise.
That's huge. That's really huge. And it's gonna be interesting to see what the effect of that might be on the market with obviously a faster flow of information with a firm like that coming onto the market, maybe even better information than we've had in the past for people out there that are actually looking at investments, looking at purchasing a first home, um, and probably a lot more strategy and yeah, it should be great. That's huge intelligence coming into the market, pure intelligence, right? Just hitting us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. From what I've heard, I have a few agents that I know that do work there, and it seems like they are more like on the trend of the AI, and they're really
yeah.
quick with a lot of their stuff that's coming out. And of course, the biggest thing they are is their social media marketing is like amazing. If I bet you in the next 6 to 12 months you're going to see a lot more of them, because they have really used social media to grow their brokerage like crazy. They're not your bus benches, billboards type of company. They're like your direct social media. Like, I personally, as an agent, of course they're going to target agents, see them
Yeah,
all the time. So
yeah,
it'll be absolutely very interesting to see when the full details come out when it closes later this year.
yeah. We'll have to talk about that on another episode for sure. Yeah, that'd be a great,
Absolutely.
a great follow up. So yeah, I guess other than that, how are some of your deals going? Since we're in the deal room, any news on some of the latest things that are happening in the industry? Good things, bad things, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Just from our last episode, I have a lot more buyers reaching out. The questions are coming in. I wouldn't say the offers are coming in. I would say that's the good. I do see a little bit more pickup in buyers, especially reaching out compared to sellers. The sellers are still not really loving the price. They will reach out the first time and ask kind of how much is my home worth, but after that, it's crickets, because the number that I normally give them is not a number they want to hear. For the bad news, unfortunately, this is one out in Langley. It was a development that just went down, meaning the developer decided to not proceed with the sales. Normally, this happens when the buyer, or sorry, the developer does not get around 50% of the units sold within a certain time frame. So banks want to see that, hey, we sold 50% of the units, we're going to advance the next funds for this development. Unfortunately, they did not get 50%. My client bought this pre-sale about 6 months ago, and then we both got the same email CC'd in and basically saying, hey, so sorry, we're going to scrap this project. The developer is pulling the cord. We'll have your deposit in the next couple weeks. And that's about it. So, obviously it sucks because you put a lot of time and effort, and especially this buyer really loved this area and location. But what it also means is what I've also seen is I'm sure everyone's seen the headlines like in Richmond, there's some pre-sales that didn't go through. In Surrey, there's a few. Vancouver developers, not only are they not building, but now the ones that they were supposed to be building kind of crumbling down. There's less sales. So what that means is when these projects were supposed to be complete in a 1, 2, 3 years out, there's going to be that much less inventory on the market. So, especially Canada, we're always talking about getting more and more housing available. Well, this is definitely not going to help that, unfortunately. We're going to see lots of projects not completing, meaning in the future years, if the market does pick up, we're going to have less inventory, and we might just be in that same little bubble that we saw back in 2020 to 2022. Unfortunately, I don't think this is a good thing. It's going to hurt a lot of buyers in the future because we really rely on new housing to be made because we have people coming in all the time. So it's not that the demand's not there. It's we need the inventory to get these prices to either stay low or not just skyrocket. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's the bad news.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. I mean, I was reading somewhere this morning that yeah, the inventories levels are pretty good right now, but obviously this doesn't help the future sustainability of that. And that's what we need in our market here in Canada. We need that inventory to keep the prices reasonable or more reasonable than they are now. Hopefully, we can get a lot more inventory and really turn this into an opportunity for Canadian buyers to actually buy a home, something that they can more affordably, you know, dig into their wallets and make those mortgage payments every month. But this is not good news at all. That a developer has to get to that point where it's like there's just not enough demand to make this project go. And that's right. It is a 50% um, threshold is what the bank's looking for on things like that. So yeah, and just in like fashion, I'm dealing with a client who's currently looking at a foreclosure possibility. I'm in there doing a foreclosure rescue. They had exhausted just about every means that they had, and they'd even been out to another broker or two, actually two other brokers before they met me, and they just weren't able to find a solution because they needed to get up to 80% or even a little bit more on the loan to value. Because obviously, when you
Hmm.
have a foreclosure, it's not just, oh, you've got to pay off, the mortgage is attached to the property, and in this case, there was three. You're looking at mounting legal costs. You're looking at penalties on those mortgages that you have to pay off. You're looking at the complexity of the deal, and that puts a little more pressure on the lenders to watch each other as well in a true foreclosure situation. We don't want it to gravitate towards that. So in a foreclosure rescue, we're basically avoiding a lot of those extreme mounting costs where the court ordered sale comes in and then the guy is really at the mercy of whatever the court ordered sale instructions are with the lender, and that they just sell it for whatever they want, leaving the homeowner with nothing. So the good news is on this one, we're able to help this guy out, and what we've been able to do is that we've been able to secure another property as collateral, if you will,
Okay, that's good.
for the advance to go over 80% loan to value. Now, usually most lenders are tapped out at 65% loan to value on a foreclosure rescue. That's just because of the market right now, just because of the things that are going on, just the very thing that you were mentioning, that there's just not enough demand to get these things sold. Well, there's not enough demand to actually, um, show a value in this case of 2.5 million is what it used to be worth. Now it's worth 2.15, and this is in a a high-end neighborhood in West Vancouver, and we're having this kind of trouble. So you can see there's
Wow.
just such a lack of demand, not just on, getting these development projects going up, but just in the singularity of this case. So yeah, but there's ways out of foreclosure. If you've got a demand letter and they're asking for the money on a certain date and it's stressing you out, and you've run through some options, maybe you've talked to a broker or two, talk to me as well. Uh, Chances are there's some creative solutions that we have on our end, better connections that I have with lenders and relationships, and to be able to surpass that 80% loan to value and look at a more useful situation, a more useful solution to help you guys out. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on my end of things with the deals. And yeah, I guess in a way it can be discouraging for our profession in a way too. I'm sure that there's some mortgage brokers who have dropped out of the industry. I haven't looked into the number, but what about on your end in the real estate world?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just looking up the stats. In 2022, at the peak of the market, as we all know, when sales were just going, everything's selling, everybody wants to be, oh, realtor, real estate agent. We had a total 16,500 agents. So just 16,500 agents. That is in, yeah, sorry, the peak of 2022, or yeah, I think it was April or May of 2022. And now here, end of April, we are sitting at 14,000, just under 14,100. So just under 15% drop in realtors over, 3 to 4 years. And you know what's funny about that number is some people have already dropped out of real estate, but their license doesn't expire for a year or two. So I actually do expect that to keep coming down. And it's just crazy. I was even looking at sales from just 1 year out. We're going to use the data from March 2025 to March 2026. The sales absolutely the same. Like literally like just a few more sales last year than this year. How and that's with prices down, 10, 11, 12%, and interest rates down 0.5% back then, from 2.75 to 2.25. So that is not, the most encouraging news for people wanting to get into real estate if they see these things. And I guess to go hand in hand with that, James, we're right around the corner here from the interest rates. I used to get the objection, or I should say question. Oh, Devin, I'm just gonna wait till rates come down a little bit more. The economy's looking good, but I gotta ask James. What's happening here for rates? Should I be telling these buyers, yeah, let's wait for rates, or what should I be saying?
Yeah, timing the market's always a tough thing to do. We never know what the Bank of Canada has really got up their sleeve ever. But one thing that economists are agreeing on continually is that even throughout 2026, 2027, we're still going to be remaining quite flat in terms of, what interest rates might do. Anything sometime in the future, not sure when, maybe the next rate hike after this one this week, which is actually coming up in a few hours here. Today, we'll hear from the Bank of Canada whether they're going to hold or they're going to go somewhere else with the rates. Um, we're going to be able to really, I guess what I'm trying to say is that through 2026 and 2027, it's going to be fairly flat. But if there's any change that's going to happen, it will be a rate cut, is what a lot of economists are saying. I read that in a few different places, from some of
Hmm.
the big forecasts from different banks, and that's because number one, our economy is still resilient. We're not quite failing, but there's been some, for example, if this Iran crisis wasn't on, we probably wouldn't be seeing, global spikes in oil and in inflation costs going up on food and things like that. So, you know, assuming that this is just a short-term problem, we just have short-term inflation, really, in
Mm-hmm.
that respect. And, you know, even with that, I mean, inflation's still pretty much contained, um, because what's happened is these oil companies have made gigantic profits during this time. And what they've done
Of
is they've
course.
reinvested in the market, bringing them even more profits. and that's really stimulated the economy quite well. But if anything, we're due for a rate hike sometime, maybe once or twice in the next year or two, is what people are top economists are saying. But right now, I believe it's going to be a hold. Um, if you have an opinion, or if you have a different idea of how the rates would go, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. So shoot those comments in, and we'll go back and forth and see what happens between now and the next few hours. Or if
I
you're
like
watching
it.
this,
I like it.
yeah, or if you're watching this video and it's already happened, then shoot us a comment. Um, either either way. All right.
Let's hear
So
from you.
yeah. Well, with that, that's another deal room day for us, and it's great to having you into the room again there, Devin. Look forward to your next update, especially with that real intake into the industry. That should be huge. All right, and thanks for coming
Likewise,
out to the.
James. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, awesome. Thanks for coming out to the deal room, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.